Good evening, I'm Joel Labi in Hong Kong. Welcome to ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show, a shake-up for one of CY Leung's most controversial policies. What lies ahead for the MPF offset mechanism? Liu Xiaobo's condition getting worse, according to Shenyang Hospital. His family reportedly says no to breathing aids to keep him alive. And Donald Trump Jr. lands himself in more hot water after publishing emails about getting dirt on Hillary Clinton from a top Russian prosecutor. All right, well, one of CY Leung's most controversial policies is to be revised. The plan to scrap the MPF offset mechanism. The original plan was to offer almost $8 billion over a 10-year period to stop employers dipping into staff pension funds for severance and long service payments. But Chief Secretary Matthew Cheung says that amount isn't nearly enough. The highly contentious blueprint was rolled out by the former chief executive just a week before his term ended. Cheung says they should be able to solve problems between businesses and workers by the end of the year. The Transport Chief is calling for faith in the cross-border high-speed rail links at joint immigration arrangements, with details expected to be unveiled in the coming days. Speaking after a radio program, Transport and Housing Secretary Frank Chan said the government has relayed the public safety concerns to mainland authorities. There's speculation as confusion as to which parts of the West Kowloon terminus will be designated for mainland officers to enforce immigration and customs laws. Chan is urging everyone to see the co-location concept in a positive light.
The so-called designated areas will enable an enjoyable process for the passenger to go through the various stages of clearance. I can assure you that in the process, we have been cohering very strictly to the one country, two system principle, and in ensuring the integrity of the basic law. So please rest assured.
For the first time, the hospital treating Chinese dissident Liu Xiaobo acknowledges he is dying. Now, in a statement, it says his family is refusing to hook him up to a breathing machine, which doctors say is needed to keep him alive. In a press release, the hospital also points out Liu is suffering from multiple organ failures and septic shock. It's added that the dissident's health hasn't improved, even after receiving various treatments over the last 3 days, including antibiotics. 24 Pan Democrats have put forward a formal petition in LegCo urging Beijing to allow the terminally ill Nobel laureate to leave the country for cancer treatment. The lawmakers include those from the Democratic Party and Civic Party. They stood in solidarity for Liu as their petition was read out at today's meeting. LegCo President Andrew Leung earlier declined a request for debate on Liu's case. Lawmaker Kenneth Leung has dismissed a vote for him to quit a LegCo probe into the former chief executive's undeclared payment controversy. Leung is being sued by CY Leung for defamation over the payment deals. Now, that raises potential conflict of interest concerns, according to pro-Beijing lawmakers who want him off the select committee looking into the matter. But Leung says if he quits the investigation, it will look like he's doing it to get out of the defamation case. 4 people have been injured in a suspected gas explosion at a restaurant in To Kwa Wan. 2 are in critical condition. Surveillance cameras captured the moments of the strong blast this morning, which destroyed the restaurant's front door. Several parked cars were also damaged, along with the shutters of a garage across the street. The explosion happened at about 6:30 when a chef turned on a stove in the kitchen. Firefighters suspect it was caused by a gas leak. A day of relief or disappointment for secondary school graduates today as they received their DSE results. 6 students received the highest grade, 5-star in 7 subjects. About 20,000 students have met the minimum requirements to enter a local university, but there is limited space for government subsidies this year. So an average of 1.4 students will be fighting it out for just 1 spot. Those who aren't as lucky might be entitled to $30,000 in subsidies each year to study in self-financing programs, but that is only if the Chief Executive's proposal for more education funding is passed by LegCo. To the United States now, where there is another twist in the Russian controversy involving the president's eldest son. Donald Trump Jr. has released emails showing a Kremlin representative offering compromising information on Hillary Clinton. But far from calming the situation, senators are now demanding he hand over documents and testify to Congress. Diane Toe reports.
In retrospect, I probably would have done things a little differently.
Donald Trump Jr. explained on Fox News why he met with a Moscow-linked lawyer who claimed he had dirt on Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton ahead of last year's presidential election.
For me, this was opposition research. They had something, maybe concrete evidence to all the stories I'd been hearing about, but they were probably underreported for, years, not just during the campaign. So I think I wanted to hear it out. But really, it went nowhere, and it was apparent that that wasn't what the meeting was actually about.
The US president's eldest son, who insists his father didn't know about the meeting, also released an email chain from June 2016 between him and publicist Rob Goldstone. It said Russia's top government prosecutor was offering the Trump campaign information, quote, that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia. According to the email posted on Twitter by Trump Jr., Goldstone says, this is obviously very high-level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. Following the email release, the US president issued a statement calling his eldest son a high-quality person and applauded his transparency. But senators are shocked at the revelations.
Nothing is proven yet, but we're now beyond obstruction of justice in terms of what's being investigated. This is moving into perjury, false statements, and even into potentially treason.
The Senate Intelligence Committee is said to be trying to get Trump Jr. to testify before lawmakers. Meanwhile, a top U.S. intelligence official said it's no surprise U.S. elections have long been under the threat of interference.
The Russians clearly did it in the 2016 election. They did it in the 2012 election, in the 1970s as well.
Yes, sir.
There were those that seemed aghast and shocked that the Russians were trying to impact and adversely place an outcome that they preferred on American democracy. They've been at this a hell of a long time.
Yeah, we'll be keeping a very close eye on that story. Coming up next, though, the latest from the world of business. Well, Hong Kong's share market has hit a two-year high, breaking the elusive 26,000 barrier in the process. The Hang Seng Index was buoyed by financial and energy stocks, pushing it up 0.64% into record territory. Tencent did its bit as well, wooing back investors and adding more than 1%. But after reaching a record price, Sunak shares retreated. Moody's issuing a statement saying its $9 billion deal to buy hotels and theme parks from Wanda is risky. Now, we're seeing even more signs that Hong Kong's red-hot property market is showing just no signs of cooling down. Stamp duty revenues have hit a 7-month high. The government raked in almost $3 billion in June. It also saw an incredible 37% surge in buyers paying double tax, the very policy rolled out to target second home buyers and companies in the hope of keeping a lid on the market. But property values continue to soar, with prices in the city breaking new records every month. Some words of reassurance from Germany's leader to Britons living in Europe. They won't be kicked out after Brexit. Angela Merkel has told an audience the rights the UK grants EU residents will largely be reciprocated. The bigger matter, though, Merkel says, is what type of court would be created to oversee all those rights. India's highest court has lifted a nationwide ban on cattle slaughter, at least for the time being. The Supreme Court says its decision will stand until the Hindu nationalist government can hear potential changes to the rules. The practice had been outlawed since May as part of a crackdown on animal cruelty. But this latest ruling is seen as a major victory for the multi-billion-dollar beef and leather industries, mainly run by India's Muslim minority. Now, after entering the market with a bang, Snapchat just can't drag its shares out of a tailspin. Its stock price has plunged to nearly 9% overnight after its biggest underwriter publicly admitted it was wrong about the company's ability to innovate. Fred Katayama reports.
4 months after Snap's public debut, its lead underwriter, Morgan Stanley, downgraded the stock. it dropped immediately. It's rare for a lead underwriter to take such a move so quickly after a listing. Snap's shares have been on a slippery slope since its initial public offering, tumbling about 45%. They slipped below its $17 IPO price for the first time on Monday. Goldbean's Jane Barrett.
I think people with a very high tolerance for risk could be looking at it as an opportunity, but all the signs right now is that they have been disappointing the street, and the ad market with, their ability to really capture advertisers.
In a note, Morgan Stanley's analyst said user growth has been weaker than expected. He wrote, "We've been wrong about Snap's ability to innovate and improve its ad product this year and user monetization." Snap declined to comment. The company faces stiff competition from Facebook and its subsidiary, Instagram.
Well, the former boss of Mt. Gox, once the world's biggest Bitcoin exchange, has pleaded not guilty to ripping off customers. Sonia Legg reports the 32-year-old is accused of embezzlement and data manipulation.
There aren't many big names in the Bitcoin world, but French national Marc Carpeles is one of them. He's the chief executive of the defunct exchange Mt. Gox.
I'm furious I couldn't prevent the hacking from happening and feel deeply sorry to my customers. I owe them an apology.
That apology followed a reported not guilty plea to charges of embezzlement and data manipulation at Tokyo's district court. The case relates to the collapse of Mt. Gox, which once handled 80% of the world's Bitcoin trades. It filed for bankruptcy in 2014 after losing some 850,000 Bitcoins, then worth around $500 million and 28 million in cash from its Japanese bank accounts. It blamed hackers and pointed to a software security flaw.
The information I can give to the public is quite limited at this moment, but I believe I can tell you more as the trial proceeds.
The Tokyo-based firm's collapse